For those who recall Nigeria's once booming industries that used to thrive, I'm talking about the 70s and 80s, even in the early 90s, but over time they faded away. Recently, there's been a reawakening with committed efforts to establish Nigeria as a powerful force in African manufacturing again. Yes, the industrial revolution in the country is on trail, as the nation is set to finalize a new national industrial policy to boost local manufacturing, reduce import dependence, and diversify the economy by focusing on value chains in key sectors like automotive, agro-processing, pharmaceuticals, and other areas. Now, this policy aims to provide stable guidance, improve infrastructure, and secure long-term financing while putting emphasis on human capital development through the first ever national industrial manpower development policy to create a skilled workforce that is sustainable and inclusive. The goal is to unlock the full potential of the nation's industries, scale up MSMEs, and harness resources to propel growth as the nation envisages a $1 trillion economy. Tonight, we explore the prospects, challenges, and what the success could mean for Nigeria's industrial revival as we put the spotlight on the $1 trillion leap, rebuilding Nigeria's industrial backbone. Our guest is Mr. Ifeanyi Chris Oputa. He's the Director General, Nigerian Association of Small-Scale Industrialists, and he will be joining us from our Lagos studio. In the meantime, thank you for joining us. This is Weekend File. I'm Ruth Aguwele. Now, before we delve into, industrial exploration business, let's begin with the news. The federal government is implementing reforms that are already repositioning Nigeria as a hub for innovation, private sector growth, and international confidence. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, stated this at the Renewed Hope Global Dialogue in London. Frama Pai reports.
The event, with the theme Strengthening Global Partnerships for Economic Renewal and National Rebranding under the Renewed Hope administration, brought together leaders, investors, and experts to discuss collaborative pathways for Nigeria's economic growth and global reputation, aligning with President Bola Tinubu's Renewed Hope agenda. The federal government's intention is focused on economic reform, attracting investment and improving national perception. Information and National Orientation Minister Mohammed Idris highlighted the impact of President Tinubu's administration on Nigerians. Idris said the federal government has evolved the ease of doing business to attract foreign direct investment, as well as making Nigeria the investors' hub on the continent of Africa. With the country out of the grey list, the world is seeing Nigeria as an emerging economy and investors' destination. In Abuja, Frama Pai, NTA News.
In other news, the Nigeria Governors Forum congratulates President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Nigerians on the country's removal from the Financial Action Task Force grey list. A statement by the NGF chairman and governor of Kwara State, Abdurrahman Abdurrazak, describes the milestone as a testament to President Tinubu's visionary leadership and transparency. The NGF notes that the exit from the grey list restores international confidence in the country's financial system and strengthens the foundation for inclusive growth, responsible governance, and sustainable development across all tiers of government. The Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL, congratulates President Bola Tinubu for his role in the emergence of Nigeria's candidate Philip Mshebila, Managing Director of Nigeria LNG Limited, as the new Secretary General of the Gas Exporting Countries Forum, describing it as a historic moment for Nigeria. Mshebila, who was elected at the Forum's 27th ministerial meeting held in Doha, Qatar, succeeds Algeria's Mohamed Hamil as the fifth scribe of the global organization. The Group Chief Executive Officer, NNPC Limited, Bashir Bayo Ojulari, says NNPC Limited is proud of what Nshebula has achieved at Nigeria LNG, where he has worked tirelessly to transform Nigeria's vast gas reserves into export-grade LNG, LPG, and condensates, serving domestic needs and global markets in the process. The NNPCL GCEO also congratulates the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, Gas, Ekperikwe Ekpo, on his emergence as president of the 2026 GECF ministerial meeting, saying the minister has been at the forefront of championing efforts to harness Nigeria's abundant gas resources for industrialization and economic development. The GECF is an international intergovernmental organization that provides a platform for the exchange of experience and information among its member countries. Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, celebrates former First Lady, Dame Patience Jonathan, on the joyous occasion of her birthday. In her congratulatory message, the First Lady joins former President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, the children, grandchildren, family and loved ones of Dame Patience to rejoice with her on the occasion, praying to God to grant her many more years in divine health, strength, joy and peace. The Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, has inaugurated a digital learning center in Sanyawa local government area of Kano State, aimed at promoting digital literacy and inclusion among Nigerians, especially women and youths. Now, the initiative under the Renewed Hope initiative is in partnership with the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, which is part of a nationwide effort to establish 10 of such centers across the country. Alwal Salisu reports.
The Sanyawa Digital Learning Center is one of 10 established across the country to expand access to technology-driven learning opportunities. The initiative aligns with the federal government's broader agenda to promote digital inclusion and build a knowledge-based economy. These centers will also serve as hubs for entrepreneurship development and digital innovation, enabling beneficiaries to harness technology for personal and community advancement. The virtual inauguration ceremony was attended by the wife of Kano State Governor, Mariam Kabir, and other dignitaries who commended the First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, for her commitment to empowering women and youth through technology-driven education.
This ICT center is a testament to our commitment to empowering Nigerians with the skills and knowledge they need to succeed in digital age.
I promise her that this building, the digital learning center, will be utilized and used according to her instructions.
Speakers emphasized the importance of digital education in national development, noting that access to technology is key to empowering citizens and reducing unemployment. In Kano, Awwal Salisu, NTA News.
The presidential initiative on unlocking the healthcare value chain and the Healthcare Federation of Nigeria have taken a significant step towards boosting local pharmaceutical manufacturing in Nigeria. Now, the two organizations signed a memorandum of understanding in Abuja, outlining their collaboration in key areas such as policy advocacy, investment mobilization, and value chain development.
Under this collaboration, this MOU is to identify additional areas, policy areas that we can advocate for with government, with other stakeholders, so that we can continue to build the sector. The second element of the MOU with HFN today is mobilizing additional resources, bringing in investments. Sometimes when foreign investors come, they're looking for credible partners in Nigeria to work with. And the third element, of course, aligned with the mandate of PVAC, is to identify various areas along the healthcare value chain that we can work together with HFN to unlock.
All these beautiful discussions, we can't increase local manufacturing without patient capital. And how do we get that? So that's one area we will be working together. Then the advocacy and also policy. Policy is so key. So there's a lot of work to be done.
Deep aligns with Nigeria's goal of increasing its pharmaceutical market share in Africa to at least 15% by 2030 and meeting a minimum of 70% of its domestic demand through local manufacturing. The Emir of Ofore in Adamawa State, Alhaji Muhammadu Sani Amadu Ribadu, has inaugurated 16 council members of the Emirate with a call on them to bring their wealth of experience to bear for the development of the Emirate and Adamawa State as a whole. Bilkisu Abubakar reports that the inauguration signals the full commencement of activities in the new Emirate.
It was indeed a great moment of joy to Fufore Emirate and the entire people of the chiefdom, as the inauguration of the maiden council members paved the way for the smooth implementation of the decisions and policies of the Emirate Council. Thus inaugurated are former Director General, Voice of Nigeria, Abubakar Boboy Jijiwa, is now the Waziri Fufore. Former Deputy Governor of Adamawa State, Bello Muhammadu Chukuru, as Wakili, Yahya Saidu, Dangaladima, Joel Hamanjot Amadaki, Sarkin Hurumi, and Halilu Hamawa Malabu Makama, among others. The Emir of Fufore, Muhammadu Sani Ahmadu Ribadu, charged them to work together towards promoting peace, unity and progress, as well as ensuring justice in protecting the interests of the people of the chiefdom.
I believe that we are poised to give the best service in terms of advisory services to His Royal Highness the Emir of Fufore, and also to make sure that we assist him in the administration of the Emirates to the best of our ability.
We came from various fields, and I'm happy that this is one of the best Emirate Council members that has been inaugurated, and all of us will contribute heavily to the development of the Emirate.
The inauguration of 16 council members, marking the first set of leaders of newly established Fufore Emirate, who are expected to work together in strengthening communal cohesion, preserving cultural heritage and development to the Emirate. In Yola, Bilkisu Abubakar, NTA News.
The Institute of Negotiators, Community and Social Development Experts has inducted 63 professionals set to take leading roles at the national and sub-national levels. Ayo Deji Makinde reports that the induction, which held in Abuja, centered on the new roles of negotiators in the global digital economy.
From diverse sectors of Nigeria's economy, participants converged on the capital city for a 3-day intensive training designed to groom and certify executive experts and development practitioners. Executive Secretary of the Institute of Negotiators, Community and Social Development Experts, Kunle Yusuf, reaffirmed the Institute's commitment to strengthening human capacity and aligning its programs with the Sustainable Development Goals.
A part of the regulation for any institute of this caliber is to have a working relationship and global partnership.
You will engage communities, mediate between governments and the governed, just like I did, and craft resolutions that promote inclusion.
I commend inclusive leadership for providing a platform that equips people with practical skills to drive peace, inclusion, and transformation.
Guest speaker and executive director of news at the NTA, Ayo Adewi, emphasized that effective negotiation remains vital for peace building, social harmony, and national development.
No community can achieve sustainable development in an atmosphere of tension or mistrust. Negotiation provides a framework for resolving disputes, allocating resources fairly, and ensuring that decisions reflect collective priorities.
41 fellows, 13 members, and 20 associate members were inducted. In Abuja, Ayo Deji Makinde, NTA News.
In other news, Court Marshal Federal Road Safety Corps Shehu Mohammed says the Corps will continue to sustain its 24 hours driver's license production across the country, while urging Nigerians who are yet to get their driver's licenses to go to their centers of application for immediate collection. This statement becomes evident during a visit to the Lagos State mini print farm to reveal activities there. Let's hear from Oyeyemi Ajayi.
Since the announcement of continuous printing and issuance of driver's licenses by the Federal Road Safety Corps, driver's license collection at the Corps' offices nationwide have experienced an avalanche of people who have come to retrieve the valid documents. A visit to the Lagos State Command of the Corps reveals non-stop activities with continuous attendance to people on a daily basis. Mrs. Moteliola Onofeko is one of those who have come for renewal of her driver's license. She explains her experience at the center, describing it as seamless and very easy.
The process is okay and they give the elderly preference.
Just like Mrs. Moteliola, Calvin Chinedu has as well come for his renewal, and he talked about what happened and how long he had stayed.
I came this morning and they organized, we even had lecture this morning about the road sign and pattern of driving, but it's okay. And look at now, I'm just about to do my capturing.
The Corps Marshal of the Federal Road Safety Corps, Shehu Mohammed, had directed a 24-hour operation in all driver's license centers with the target of settling all backlogs by continuous production of driver's licenses. At this mini print farm in Lagos State, 15,000 cards are produced daily, and within 2 weeks, over 100,000 have been produced, aside 1,850 licenses produced per hour. For now, about 51,257 driver's licenses are unclaimed across the 25 centers in the state, a source of concern to the Corps.
Production from the input of the machine to the output takes less than 20 seconds for a card to be out. So it means we can produce over 1,800 in 1 hour.
For the officers of the Corps, especially at this print firm, no slumbering, all hands remain on deck, operating shifts to ensure all targets are met, and the machines remain active 24 hours. And for the people, no more doubts. The Corps says, take a step, and surely their driver's licenses are waiting to be collected. From Lagos, Oyeyemi Ajayi, NTA News.
A leap there, you will say. And talking about leap, $1 trillion leap. How does Nigeria intend to rebuild its industrial backbone? That's the focus of our conversation after the break. Thank you for staying tuned. Have you ever walked through Ariaria Market? I'm talking about where you get to see made in Aba products, and you get to see thousands of artisans turning rawhides, fabric scraps, local designs into finished shoes, bags, and garments. You may be having some in your closet. Well, Ikechukwu Ndukwe reports.
Aba, a city of craft and commerce. From the humming tailoring shops to rows of shoemakers, Aba's markets are where ideas become goods and goods become livelihoods. Aba is a low capital, high labor cluster, ideal for rapid industrial job creation. Nigerian government's 2030 $1 trillion economy is realizable with proper investments in the Aba leather and fashion exports, which can generate at least $1 billion annually.
African fashion style is something that is acceptable all over the world because Africans are everywhere in the world. So we have clients in the UK, we have clients in the US.
Before, they were hiding when they made, you see some shoes, they say made in Korea, made in so places. Aba is currently imprinting in their soles, made in Aba. That is sold in the UK market, that is sold in US market.
Once I introduce myself as a designer from Aba, people normally prefer to patronize me, which means if government can invest in this sector, build hubs, buy machinery, or subsidize the price of machinery, I think it will go a long way to revitalize the business, the economy, and also help to minimize the upsurge of insecurity, kidnapping, Yahoo business.
Abbas leather and textile clusters were supported to shift 30 to 50% of the current raw or semi-finished flows into finished, export-ready products through efforts like the Aba Export Growth Laboratory, the study of fashion and technology in institutions of higher learnings in Abia State in order to maintain its lead in the leather and fashion clusters. In Aba, Ikechukundukwe, NTA News.
Once the heartbeat of northern Nigeria's economy, Kanu's industrial sector is now a shadow of its former self, with more than 400 factories reported to have shut down since 2019. In Bompai industrial area, Aminu Umar reports that the few remaining industries are still fighting to stay afloat, offering a glimpse into the challenges and hope for revival.
In the 1980s and early 90s, Kanu's industries were a major driver of Nigeria's economy, creating thousands of jobs and fostering social unity through a diverse workforce. Today, the story is different, as more than 400 industries have reportedly shut down since 2019, weighed down by a range of challenges.
You see, the devaluation of the currency made it impossible to modernize fully. Non-implementation of government policies holistically. Revival takes it whole, not parts. That's the mistake we are doing in the case of textile.
Bompai industrial area, once a hub of activity, now tells a story of decline. Only a few factories remain in operation, many running far below capacity.
The last batch, I had to go to Lagos to go and meet the shipping line. And what was the problem? They said the custom porter was down. It was like that for over a month. We could not do anything, and we were paying demurrage to the terminal, to the shipping line. So this impacted so much. You can imagine when we paid over 50 million on demurrage alone.
So it is very important government to continue to engage the private sector and the subnational government, so that support from the state government will be defined, support coming from the federal government will be defined, and how the whole things will be coordinated to recognize the individual peculiarities of the locations.
If one factory, not that big, can provide 150 jobs, imagine the impact if all the industries in Bompai and across Kano were back in full operation. It could be a game changer for the state and the nation. In Kano, Aminu Umar, NTA News.
All right, let's bring in our guests to begin the conversation on rebuilding Nigeria's industrial backbone. He joins us from our Lagos Network studio, the Director General, Nigerian Association of Small-Scale Industrialists, Mr. Ifeanyi Chris Oputa. Thank you very much for joining us, Mr. Oputa. Chris. Thank you for staying tuned. Mr. Oputa, I'm sure you saw the report from Lagos speaking to job creation. Let's look at the aspect, that the nation can look at. If we're looking at this industrial trail, I'm talking about investment opportunities. How can we boost domestic industries and also attract, foreign investment? Domestic industries and also attract, foreign investment.
I'll have to go back a step and remind all of us about something, because every time we talk about Nigeria, we have people saying, oh, in the 70s and the 80s, there were factories in Kano, factories in Lagos, everything was moving well. What people tend to forget is that most of the industries established in the 60s and 70s were totally foreign-owned industries. They were from the colonial times of Nigeria. Now, they were using, of course, raw materials produced in Nigeria to make things and export. It was a totally foreign-controlled space. 76, the Nigerian, with the military government, when they had the policy about a nationalization policy, what we saw happening was a lot of these companies had to get Nigerian ownership. And many of the companies could not really accept Nigerian ownership as per se. And they pulled out of Nigeria in a bit of a way, management-wise, funding-wise. Remember, all of these businesses had, Nigerian banks especially at the time, were foreign-owned banks. So they had unlimited access to financial capital. The interest rates in Nigeria in 1976, prior to the indigenization, were 6% per annum on borrowing. You understand? So we had a proper international standard kind of economy operating at the same rates as the rest of the world. Now, the difficulty started when, after taking over these factories and these companies, we didn't have that many of our Nigerian entrepreneurs actually active in the industrial space. Very few. And also, we had a population of 50 million people, which was manageable at the time. Now, let's look beyond all what's going on in the period and say, okay, fast forward to 2025, we have 200+ million people. There's been very little investment by way of bringing industries back into our space, encouraging entrepreneurs in that area. And then we've said, okay, you know what? NACI has been speaking with the government about this issue of processing of products, of our raw materials in Nigeria. Simply by processing our raw materials, if we, like we've said, 30% is a minimum for start. Can you imagine what will happen once we start to actively process our raw materials for export? And even those that are being used locally, forcing companies which are presently importing our products to now process locally. That will create in itself an explosion of opportunities. And we are saying we don't really need that much of foreign investment. What about Nigerian investors? Because you see, when you talk about foreign investors, the next thing you see happening is they come into your country like they did in the 60s and 70s. Whatever they sell, they take all their money out. So you're talking about people who are doing business in Nigeria, but taking all their profits out. And you're talking of billions of dollars going out. For a quick example, 2 telecom companies alone were reported to have taken out almost $10 billion in a year. $10 billion. And that money they don't generate income in dollars, they generate naira. So having to take out dollars means they have to exchange that money from wherever they can get it and take the money outside. So if we bring in all these foreign people who are going to now want to take their money out, it's not that we're saying Nigeria doesn't want anybody to come in, no. But the more we can get our local players to start investing, what it means is that all the money that is made remains in our economy. We don't have capital flight. We don't have a loss of hundreds of billions of dollars over the years going back to countries and then we're stranded. It doesn't make any sense. So we prefer to have, whilst we encourage those who want to come into our country to bring their money in, yes, but we really want to see more Nigerians starting businesses, getting into the space. There's so much to do in the agricultural space, in the services, in the light manufacturing, especially when you have a refinery. For example, we've had 4 refineries. Each of those refineries is not, the Nigerian, our local thinking is that a refinery is for petrol. But all the refineries we have.
Mr. Oputa, I know you have a lot to say, but in summary now, I don't know if you can hear me. In summary now, Mr. Oputa, I'd like you to just, summarize your final thoughts for us, especially in the aspect of harnessing human capital development, looking at skills acquisition for young people, MSMEs you mentioned, and also innovative skills. Looking at skills acquisition for young people, MSMEs you mentioned, and also innovative skills.
Once you're processing, to process stuff, you need to get people who know how to process stuff. You have to skill them up. So as more and more MSMEs are going to start processing in Nigeria, processing things for export, processing for local production, you'll have an explosion of needs for artisans, for workers in factories, we'll have too much need. And so we start training people, and we're skilling them up. They have direct employment, apprenticeship, employment immediately. So all we can see is going forward, we see a lot of light at the end of this tunnel. We don't see why Nigeria will not make that 1 trillion mark and beyond. Nigerians will get invested in this economy. We have to bring our people to invest in Nigeria, not just foreigners, Nigerians. Thank you.
Is through to the knockout stage of the FIFA Under-17 Women's World Cup, which is ongoing in Morocco after a 4-0 victory over Samoa earlier this evening. Forward of the team, Queen Joseph struck twice, and then Shakirat Mashoud converted from the penalty spot, and Azizat Odunton sealed the win for the Flamingos, who had earlier suffered defeat to Canada 4-1 and then France by 1-0 before this victory to stamp their ticket to the next round. All right, Rivers United have become the first Nigerian club side in 7 years. Well, that's quite impressive to reach the CAF Champions League group stage after a 3-1 win over Madagascar's Black Bulls. That was also this evening. Now, the pride of Rivers overturned a 1-0 first leg defeat to progress 3-2 in aggregate, a feat last achieved by Lobby Stars of Makudi in the 2018-2019 season. Meanwhile, Remo Stars face an uphill battle after a 5-1 loss to Mamelodi Sundowns in Ikene ahead of their return leg in Pretoria on Saturday. Elsewhere, the National Sports Commission has inaugurated new boards for various sports federations, charging them to consolidate on achievements and explore new frontiers of development. The inauguration follows the General Federation elections conducted by the Commission on Saturday, where 17 new sports federation boards emerged. The newly elected members joined other federations that had earlier held their elective congresses in taking the oath of office.
The first feeling is that we're beginning to see the dividends of the reforms that the President, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, is putting in the sports sector.
I just feel more challenged to be able to now carry out more work for the Hockey Federation and sports in general.
The good thing about life is continuity. You don't retard. Dividends of good handball delivery is what we owe them.
The Shooting Federation appears to be a broken home. So my first priority will be to mend fences.
Of the English Premier League, where Sunderland pulled off a stunning comeback to beat Chelsea by 2-1 at Stamford Bridge in Saturday's early kickoff in a match that was beamed live on the NTA. Let's also tell you that Leeds edged past West Ham United by 2-1. And Manchester United beat Brighton 4-2. And with just some few minutes to the end of the game between Brentford and Liverpool, Brentford are currently leading by 3-2. And that's your sports. It's back to Ruth.
Many thanks, Ayodeji. Thank you for that. Tomorrow, actually, October 26th, is International Day of Visit a Cemetery. It may sound somewhat solemn, but quite an emotional and significant day. It's a day to honor and think about the lives of those who are gone and the impact they had. And on this day, talking about tomorrow, people often visit the gravesites of friends and family, if possible, clean and redecorate the headstones of loved ones. It's just a way for us here to say that we care and we sympathize with you if you've lost someone. And that's Weekend File. Do have a good night rest. I'm Ruth Aguilera.